So I switched it up last time. It was my bad. I switched my dates and my subjects. So this week, and I'll read it for you too. It's the remedy I'll teach you this Monday night is one you'll likely not forget. You'll not use it frequently because the person who needs this medicine can often be very extreme and the world doesn't produce many of them. Thank God. I'll teach you how to use it for psychopaths as well as for someone much more in the normal range of behavior. And let's talk about that tonight. And so here I'm referencing my materia medica. Should you be interested, you can certainly contact my office. But as I always say, there's more than one materia medica. There are many materia medicas. I don't have one right here at hand. They're behind me. You can see there's one here. There's another one here. There's another one, I think right next to that one too. There's another. All different authors, different materia medicas. I think this is also one that I can see backwards. This one too is a materia medica. Different materia medicas authored by different doctors, medical practitioners from all over the world at different times of history. So you'll find these some of these materia medicas are quite old, and you'll see outdated nomenclature, which is actually kind of interesting. It's kind of fun to see that. Quincy, for example, is an old word that we used to see in all the old medical books, and we don't see that anymore, and it has to do with a sore throat. And what are some of the other ones? It's kind of interesting. Well, I won't dwell on that because I'm not recalling many of them right now. So tonight we're going to talk about from my materia medica. I'm going to read to you a little bit, and then I'm going to expound on it. And then I want you to remember, this is why this is I think a very important medicine, is that most folks think that homeopathy, especially if they're new into the world of homeopathy, think that homeopathy must be for only acute, such as otitis media, conjunctivitis, strep throat, an infection, an injury, those kinds of conditions, food poisoning, those kinds of things that the homeopathy is known for because it has spent a lot of time, the homeopaths have spent a lot of time in the last many decades teaching people how to use it for acutes. But homeopathy is not only very valuable for that, it's also valuable for chronic conditions, food intolerances, allergies, eczema, irritable bowel syndrome. We could keep going. Rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis. I could go on and on and on. But sometimes people enter those two worlds and understand that, yet they don't realize that homeopathy is incredible for psychological conditions. Anxiety, depression, worry, night watching, meaning taking care of someone that you love, your elderly parent, or if you're a nurse and you're up all through the night and you're caring for someone who's ill. It can be for anxiety before specific events. It can be for someone who is extremely shy. Now, we're not talking about a milder version of all of these conditions. We're talking about something that's pathological. Why does it have to be pathological? Well, I'll tell you why. Because these are, I'm looking for a bottle. These are medicines. And so we don't use them willy-nilly. We use them because there is a condition that needs to be treated. So if your nails are splitting, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Just drink, make bone stock, drink bone stock, eat foods high in calcium, good quality, full-fat yogurt, etc. Go that route first if you possibly can. If, however, the nails are splitting so badly that it's cutting to the quick, it's breaking at the quick of the nail, and it's causing pain, and it's more than once, it's happened time and again. Okay, now splitting nails or delaminating nails matter, and we use the medicine specific for that. We can do the same thing for psychological conditions. We can say, this person is nervous because tomorrow he's going on stage and he's worried about not remembering his lines properly. And he's nervous in the way that most people would be nervous. It's a little adrenaline rush. Sometimes that can be valuable. And he's fine. He'll do it. He's done it many times before. He'll do it. I don't know. I suppose you could use a medicine for that if it steps up a little bit. Now let's say it's someone who has to go on stage tomorrow and they're shaking and they're cowering and they're not going to be able to sleep. They know it. They can feel it. And the next day they're perspiring heavily. Now we're getting into the realm of some kind of a pathology. And that's when we would give the person some relief through a homeopathic medicine. We can use this for many circumstances, and sometimes, actually even often, a little bit of poison, so to speak, a little bit of discomfort that comes naturally with life is actually a good thing. We want a little bit of discomfort because it forces us to move ahead. We don't want everything to be so comfortable that the person does not understand the ups and downs of being human. And so we have to weigh that out. We want to find that tipping point, and that's up to you to figure out for yourself, your family, your dog, etc. Now, speaking of a dog, Buster has anxiety when my husband leaves. So my husband, when he goes out of town, or he runs to the post office or something like that, the dog can pace. Now, he doesn't do it so much anymore because I've been treating him homeopathically. He doesn't like it. You can see he hangs out at the door, but he's not freaking. He used to freak. So what we're looking is to not, just treat symptoms. As always in homeopathy, we're going to use those symptoms. They are our gifts. So what we want to do is use that information to determine which medicine it is. And once we know the medicine and we start administering it, we use it only as needed. And then we should start seeing it settle down. You can see it settle down. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa loves being a mighty member. So does Kathy Diaz. Thank you. It's wonderful. And Sheila, thank you. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm trying to put more content up on our little membership site. We're getting there. It's a kind of a slow moving train, but we'll get there. So, the medicine I'm going to talk about tonight is called Hyoscyamus, one word. I'm just breaking it up so that you can hear my speech better. Hyoscyamus niger. Niger is the second word. So it's Hyos, Hyos. Now sometimes it's abbreviated as just plain Hyos, Hyos. But the full word is Hyoscyamus, so it's Hyoscyamus. And the second word is niger, Niger. And it's henbane. If you know anything about gardening, you know that henbane is a very poisonous plant. And that's what I'm talking about with poison. Poisons can be very good for us if they're in small amounts, if they're in just the right measured amount. And that, my friends, is what homeopathy is all about. Measured small amounts of something that can be toxic. They're not always from toxic substances, but can be toxic in the gross form. But of course, we dilute it, not I, but in a homeopathic pharmacy, dilute it and succuss it and dilute it and succuss it and bring it down till it is down to, say, the 200th potency. Now, this medicine, Hyoscyamus, I use in two potencies. My two favorite potencies is Hyoscyamus niger in a 6C and Hyoscyamus niger in a 200C. I don't know that I've ever used it in any other potencies. Perhaps I have. So if you've seen me do that, then please let me know. But here we go. Australia, Dubravka, and Paloma from Scotland. Oh, it's wonderful. I love to see people from all over the world. Yes. Audacity is such a great word, isn't it, Sharon? The audacity. Texas. From Chico, hi Michelle, and from Canada, lots of folks from Canada. Love Canada. I wish he'd open that up so I could get back up there. I love spending time. Connecticut, Rhode Island, that's Tony, and Kevin. Oh yeah, Kevin Bodie. Okay, we're mighty members too. I said Kevin, that's because we don't have very many men, but Kevin's family watches and is part of my little world. They're clients, and it's wonderful having them here. So, all right, Hyoscyamus, it's henbane, and it is for very specific kind of irregular behavior. Excuse me. The behavior is often extreme. Now, I'm going to teach you the remedy, and then I'm going to pull back a little bit and say we don't always need all of these conditions to be lined up in order for us to know to choose them. So this remedy is used for profound mental and nervous disorders, as if some diabolical force, now in some people that really is a keynote, has taken possession of the brain and prevented its functions. That's a direct quote from Dr. Boricki. If you have his Materia Medica, it's a good source. That may be online, by the way, Dr. Boricki's Materia Medica. Boricki is spelled Boerike. The person is quarrelsome, obscene, loquacious, and persists in stripping naked and uncovering the genitals. Now, when some people say, well, I saw this person do that once, but I haven't seen them do it in a long time. Well, just because they don't do it daily, just because they don't do it weekly, just because they don't do it on a regular basis, doesn't mean it's not a part of their behavior, because it is a noteworthy behavior. Enough noteworthy that we could say, listen, it only has to happen once a year or even less than that. But if we have some of the other conditions lining up that describe this personality, and we also have that, the exposure of the genitalia, then we know that there's probably a good fit here with Hyoscyamus niger. Okay, so Hyoscyamus is also used for the physical symptoms of weakness, twitching muscles, and there are others. But what's really interesting about this, it's specific for typhoid. Now, if someone has typhoid fever and we use this medicine, they do not need to have all the erratic behavior related to it. Typhoid is good enough because it's such an extreme disease. We do not have to have exposure of the body in order to use this Hyoscyamus niger for typhoid. Interesting, isn't it? Now, sometimes people don't actually expose themselves, but they often talk about sexual content regularly, and it makes others uncomfortable. So it makes them feel like, would you please, I don't need to know about your sex life. All I need to know is, hi, how are you? How are things going? But if they go into that, that is in a sense, it's an exposure to their genitalia. Okay, the person may also have delusions of being injured, poisoned, murdered, or watched. So they have violent outbursts, and inappropriate sexual behavior may be present. The person may be inclined to laugh at everything and fumbles with their hands or wants to wring them constantly. Now, when we say this person has a delusion of being injured, it can actually be an injury that they experienced. They may indeed have been poisoned, but to continually think about it and be somewhat obsessed about it leads us to think about this medicine as well. Small irritations result in angry outbursts, and impatient, hurried, oversensitive people are softened by this remedy. So what I mean by they're softened by this remedy is that when we use this medicine, all of those symptoms that I just described, that constellation of conditions that I've described, doesn't mean that they will actually absolutely abort. It does not necessarily mean that, although it often can. But if you see aspects of that constellation of symptoms still remaining, but it's the edge is taken away, they're not as paranoid, they're not as overt, they're not as sensitive nor extreme, nor do they have as many outbursts, or when they have an outburst, it occurs and then it softens. And that description of what I just said to you is what we use not just for this medicine, but for many others, for actually most of these homeopathic medicines. We're not looking necessarily for a complete cure. We're looking for a softening, someone that can now fit into society a little more readily, someone who is no longer suffering to the same measure that they had been. That's always what we're looking for in homeopathy, softening the condition so that now they can live a somewhat normal life. So let me give you another example of that. I worked with a woman many years ago, and I've seen it since, but this one was the one that stood out for me. We see, where are Armides? Did you put on the freedom? Okay, so I'm getting these little templates up here. So I met with a woman years ago who had severe arthritis of her hands, and she had deformans, is what it's called, and she also had pain. So her passion in life was knitting and crocheting. And so that's really, she was an elderly woman. That's what she wanted to be able to do. She wanted to make sweaters and clothing for her grandchildren. But the pain was too much. So by using the homeopathic medicine for that, what it did was it got the pain down from a screaming 6 to 8 on a scale of 1 to 10 to about a 1 to 2. And the deformance never went away. Her fingers always remained swollen, or knuckles remained swollen and deformed, but she was able to knit and crochet. That's what we're looking for. That's exactly what we're looking for. We want to give this person freedom, because true health is indeed freedom. So what we want to do is make this so that they can live a life again. Alrighty, let me keep reading here so that I make sure that I've covered everything. They're oversensitive to everything, including sounds and arguments. It's as though these patients lack protective covering, and there is an amplification of sensation as if their nerves were overly exposed. The patient doesn't want his head uncovered. That's an interesting aspect. This does not have to be there. But if you see these little, as I said, constellations showing up, this will help you clinch the deal, so to speak. And even touching a cold item will aggravate his symptoms. He's very sensitive to cold. Lack of a buffer and desire for fatty foods indicate the patient should be covered in a blanket. So it's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, that they're so sensitive it's as though they're raw on the outside, and it doesn't take much to put them over the edge. Now, how do I use this? When do we use this? I've actually used this medicine in children. Sometimes autistic children can have aspects of this. Doesn't have to be, remember, doesn't have to be the full picture. And I like to use it at Hyoscyamus in a 6C twice daily. And for how long do we use this? Well, we use it for as long as it's needed. Generally speaking, though, when it comes to a chronic condition like this, we use it for maybe 6, 7, 8 weeks, and we assess then. Now, more often than not, the parents tell me, oh my gosh, within about 3 or 4 days, everything changed. He was not as flipping out, not as sensitive. There was no more talk, sexual talk. And you would think that a young child would not have that propensity for lewd talk, but they do. They're human. They can do the same thing as an adult. So you're watching for those kinds of things. Again, you don't have to have all of them. You don't have to have all of these symptoms. But if it's kind of weighing down on that side, then you know to use it. For an adult, I would use it also. I might use it maybe once a day or twice a day, Hyoscyamus in a 200C. I've also used it in the 6, but I like the 6C for children who are not fitting in properly. You see that not fitting in these little regards. They seem big, but you could even just pick out one of those perhaps, and it might just do it. All right, so let's see. Thank you. You're welcome. New from Fort Wayne. Welcome from Fort Wayne. Hello. All right. Another Mighty. Hi, Tina. I'm glad to be listening. You bet. Joan, hi. Mighty member here. Hi. Thank you so much for joining, Mighty members. I'll tell you, it touches me. It touches me for you folks to be here. I don't see your face like you see mine, obviously, but to know that you're here and that I'm going to be teaching is a joy for me. I wear a mask to show kindness and protect others, plus to set a good example. Other people not showing respect by maintaining a reasonable distance, and wearing a mask definitely causes me anxiety. Okay. Hi, Neely. What about extreme social anxiety for 15 years? It matters not. Matters not how long. If this person has had this condition or an anxiety condition for 50 years, it makes no difference. If they're on psychotropic drugs, you can still often break through with homeopathy. If they're off of psychotropic drugs and they're worried about having to be put back on again, it is could still potentially be a great use. All right. Hello from Utah. Let's see what else we've got. Hi from Dallas. Susmita. I love Indian names. Okay. Hello, members from Minnesota. Hi from Toronto. I have a question. I heard there is no expiration date for liquid homeopathic medicines. Is that right? Here's the thing with these medicines. The pharmacies are hesitant, and you can understand why, to put an expiration date to say forever. Is there any medicine on earth that anybody would say, well, this is forever? So they give a specific date that they know is probably within a good, reasonable amount of time that any medicine might last. But I personally, and I can never guarantee it, but I personally have had medicines in alcohol and in their pill form last for a very long time. And when I get back to my little cottage up in Canada, if I ever do this year, I will show you my bottles that I have from 1918 that were a gift to me, and I have used them to try them out, and they still act. I know, sounds crazy, but that's the way it goes. Hyos, Niger, you bet. All righty. So hi from Annapolis, that's Beth, and from Eldridge. All right, let's see if we have any questions here. Okay, I think it's dangerous thinking that one can control the spread of a virus, and if we fail to keep it from spreading, we are all at fault. This leads to the severe restrictions we're experiencing and will continue to, rather than being open to treatment. I am not going to open it up, Nicole, but I tend to agree with you. I think nobody has real answers about this virus, and I think that this is like, in my estimation, this is a tempest in a teapot. This has been grossly overplayed. Okay, where do I get liquid homeopathic medicines? I believe Washington carries them in West Virginia. I know OHM, if you happen to be a client or a student of mine, you can get products or these remedies from OHM. Helios in England may also. Okay, speaking for my fellow Canadians, we love a discount at Boron Canada. Oh, you know what? I would love to be able to do. I totally agree, Wanda. And we've talked about it with the powers that be at Boron, and I don't remember how it ended, but I will look at it again. Work only anxiety? No, I would not say that. Thank you for pronouncing Boraki. Yes, ma'am. Would this likely be used for homeless folks you see doing and acting like this? It matters not if they're in a home, on a boat, in an apartment, on the street. It matters not. Now remember, a lot of times homeless people, the vast majority of homeless people have drug addictions, and so they're reacting to a drug. And if these are actual drug side effects, then I don't know how far you're going to get with it, to be honest. But is it worth a try to help someone? You bet it is. I gave this remedy to my daughter 2 days ago. This is not just for anxiety. This is not simple anxiety, folks. I don't want you to think that. This is very specific, very, very specific to what I've said, okay? Okay, there's a Zoom boomer who likes to crash virtual classes and remove his clothes. I guess this would be a good remedy for him. Excuse me. I absolutely agree with you. Try ABC homeopathy, says someone. I think that's regarding getting the liquid remedies. Got here late. Okay, just read up. You'll be able to read up later what we're doing. Sharon's telling her what we're doing. Hyoscyamus. All right. My son used to strip a lot. Asperger's. I gave him this remedy 7 years ago. At 7 years old, who could not speak well. His speech improved enough for others to understand him. You've got it. You're absolutely right, Joseph. That's an example. Now, let me just distinguish. When children take off their clothes, it could be for different reasons. Sometimes it's simply because they're hot. It's just as simple as that. Other times, it's the sensitivity to the feeling of clothing on their bodies. That's another condition. When we're talking about removing clothes because it is a condition that is related to the way they're thinking in terms of exposing themselves, that's a different situation. But Joseph, you hit it right on the mark, obviously. It doesn't mean that you can't use this again. Should you want to see perhaps another improvement occur, we can use it time and again. The film Pandemic is on Mighty's site. It was taken down. Facebook, that's that pandemic. No, it was Plandemic, excuse me, not Pandemic. The Plandemic film was taken down. So you can find it on my Mighty's membership site. That's the whole idea here, is to be able to protect this kind of information and keep it in a site that is safer. There are other sites like that as well. Hi, Tamara is also a Mighty member. Mighty member, thank you again. This is Teresa. Hi, Mighty from Houston. I love it. It's so wonderful. Rural Texas. Boy, Texas, I'll tell you. This is, what a state. People are just loading up into Texas and Florida. They're all coming from all of those other states. Adult son has OCD, intrusive thoughts, suicidal thought, anxiety, depression, Asperger's syndrome. I'm not going to tell you that that is what you should use. Instead, what I want you to do is do your homework. And the best way to do this is if you have my Materia Medica, read it. But read other Materia Medicas on this particular medicine and see, does this aspect of him fit? It's not about Asperger's. It's about behavior that someone has, whether they have Asperger's, whether they have cancer, whether they have autoimmune diseases. It's not the disease that we're choosing. It's the condition, okay, and how it's presenting. We're so missing our summer Trinity in Newfoundland. Oh, no doubt. No kidding. Okay. Recommended for ADHD in the allergy course. It can also be used for attention deficit disorder, particularly if you find that there's any one of these conditions. So getting too easily distracted and being in their own world, you bet. Agree tempest in a teapot, you bet. Washington has no... You know what? It doesn't surprise me that Washington no longer has liquids. The FDA is being very hard on these pharmacies. Very, very hard. Okay, here we go. Homeopathystore.com sells liquids. All right, my daughter said she felt different after I gave her 200C because she was disassociating. Well, here's the thing. Anytime we use a medicine and it causes trouble, if it's not horrible, then we leave it alone and allow the medicine to perhaps continue acting if that's what's happening. On the other hand, if someone says, no, you know what, I took this medicine and this is just not right day after day, this is not good, or it's even really bad that night, then stop. Just stop the medicine. It's the wrong one. Okay. Thank you with lots of hearts. You get a discount on boron products at Riverdale Homeopathy in Canada. There you go. There you go. You get a discount, Canadians, on boron products at Riverdale Homeopathy in Canada. Thank you. You know what? I remember now someone mentioned that it might have been you before that on Be Positive Mindset. Okay. Picking at the skin. Could you still use that medicine? That is not the medicine I choose for picking at the skin. I think of Ignatia. I think of other medicines, but that's not necessarily the one. Try pureformulas.com for boron products. I've purchased them from there. Manufacturer. Okay, here we go. Yes, I believe that is Ignatia 200C. You're absolutely right. I've been trying Sanguinaria for my COVID lack of taste, and I seem only to be able to use it for 3 days before I have a kind of proving. Any suggest? Well, I'm not going to go into that now, but that means it's not right for you. Unless you're finding it's better for 2 days, and on the third day it proves that it's not the right medicine for you. It is the first one I think of. It is a zinc deficiency. I can talk to you about that. So look up foods high in zinc. Just the other night, my husband and I had raw oysters. Love them, and that's very high in zinc. Physical symptoms of twitching muscles can you use for other incidences of twitching muscles? Well, I don't want to go into that, Francine. I'm sorry. Is this remedy also about a child spitting in your face? Can't remember if that is a symptom of this one. You know what? I believe that Hyoscyamus would be good for that particular condition. It's not the only one, but definitely it is one of the big ones. You bet. Because that is taking things too far in terms of the anger and being too extreme. Don't California my Texas. Well, that's what I say. Don't New York my Florida. Although I'm from New York. Isn't that hypocritical? Here it is. CETV.1 Plandemic Indoctrination. Folks, watch it. Download it first. Watch it. It's very interesting. And that particular film organization is, I think, a good one. You know what? Here's a good way to do this, to look at this. Check out Robert Kennedy Jr. Amazing man. Look at what he says about this. I think he's a very sober, intelligent, well-educated, man. Okay, also you are talking to Boron Canada about us. It would be great to have access to all the remedies, not just the ones that the general public might order. For example, I couldn't get ambrosia, and they told me to get it through a homeopath. Yeah, I'm not going to win that battle. They have specific ones that are for the general public and others that are not. But I will tell you, you can get ambrosia from Washington. Homeopathy will carry it. Certainly OHM if you're a student of mine. Hahnemann Pharmacy, I'm pretty sure they carry ambrosia. Love the notes margin in your Materia Medica. I'm adding your wisdom there next to the Hyos right now. There you go. There is a Plandemic 2 out now. I agree. I think that's happening. Would you mind sharing which potency you use? Yes, 6 and 200. We talked about it earlier. Yep. Riverdale Homeopathy is the east end of Toronto on the Danforth. And hyperactivity and aggravating type behavior because of a child's poor sleep. Regardless of whether or not it's from the child's poor sleep or not. Hyperactivity, certainly. Aggravating, depends if, read this again, or read what I've said again, or watch what I've said again, and then read it in a Materia Medica, and see if what you mean by aggravating fits this particular situation. Okay. A friend told me that they had a family group night with friends, and one little boy would sit in the center and masturbate. Hyoscyamus. That's it, folks. There are others. We have other medicines for that as well that is more specific to masturbating, but yes, indeed it can be. Yes. Would this be considered an acute or chronic remedy for this behavior? Well, if it's happening time and again, I would call that a chronic. If it's never happened before and now it's just happening tonight, then I would consider potentially as an acute. All right. I buy from Helios. They have some liquids. I've bought mother tinctures also. They legally have to label with an expiration date. Yes, absolutely. These pharmacies have to follow the rules very carefully. These are medicines. All right. Someone's saying chia seeds and high in zinc. Soak them overnight. Is it for crippling social anxiety disorders that so many millennials have? Hyoscyamus, no. I would not say that, but if you go on my blog and look up anxiety, you'll find, or just my name, Joette Calabrese, because I've written for many, many others. Is lack of smell from COVID also? Yes, I do believe it is. I think anytime we have a loss of smell, the first thing we think of is zinc, if we're looking at it from a nutritional point of view. Wow, we're going way over. I'm doing that because we got lots of more questions, and I don't mind doing it because I don't have a class tonight. So glad you found online after all these years. You taught in our home study group back around 1998, and we're instrumental in my homeopathic alternative medicine journey. It has changed our lives. Transformative. Thank you. Dorothy Hall. Thank you, Dorothy. I actually remember. I remember you. I remember your name. It's great. Thank you so much. 1998. I've been teaching for a long time. I've been teaching since even 96. All righty. Joette, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge. Happy swimming. Thank you. Nature. Actually, I'm going to talk about this coming up soon. I'm actually on a fast, on a water salt fast, and I've been doing it now I'm on day 8. And I'll be talking about it in Mighty Members. I'm going to give lots of information why I'm doing it. Not that I recommend it to everyone. I do not do that. But I want you to know what I'm doing. So I'm not swimming. I'm walking now. It's too exerting. So I'm not swimming right now. But as soon as I'm finished with this fast, then I will be swimming again. Okay. You can also order from Homeocan in Canada. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. It isn't the president, it's the postal services. I don't know what that was. Okay. All right. Replying. Thanks, I'll try that. Why did Joette say, what was the zinc? You can go back and read it. I take zinc daily, but have suddenly had a loss of taste. And I'm not sick. You know what, Suzanne? I look at that as too much zinc. It can go the opposite way. So you might want to rethink that through. Can't say for sure. Wow, day 8. I know, I'm impressed too. Actually, years ago I did a 10-day fast. Okay, love Mighty Members and really looking forward to what you have to offer us. Love learning from you. Thank you very much, Dorothy. How many days do you intend to fast? I don't know. I'm getting irritable. I don't know. Maybe 2 more days. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It wasn't an exact full 10 days. We broke the fast in the Saturday night, and my husband and I had a steak and oysters. And plenty of water, and And so we broke it for that night and then back on it again yesterday and today. So, okay, I think that is it, folks. So with that, I'm going to say God bless all of you. It's great seeing you. Thank you for joining me. Consider joining study groups. Consider starting a study group. If you ever want to do that, go to my website. Eileen is there to help you. Consider joining Mighty Members. If not, just stay here. I'm perfectly happy with that too. And with that, I say, God bless all of you and have a great week, everyone. Bye now.